Yeah, so this is Excel. Of course, for those who maybe you are not aware of where you can find it, uh, you can go to the Windows. You can see that start button on the left hand side, right? You can navigate to maybe somewhere like this. For me, I'm using Excel 2016. For those who are using maybe Excel 2013 version and 207 and the likes, I hope you have updated them so that because I think there's been several progress in terms of updating all this software. So if you have a lower version or maybe those 207s and 2010s, it might be missing some of the updates that have been happening. These tools are always updated. For example, you look at something like Power BI, it is updated monthly. Look at a tool like R, you look at a tool like Python. Within a year, you may find 3 or 4 versions of those tools. So if you have a version that is really old a little bit, it might be a problem. So you can navigate and find it around Excel 2016 somewhere there. You'll be able to see it. And so if you click it, it will pop up and then you'll see everything that you want to have a look at. Of course, maybe I have some data sets here, data mines, bounty, survey, diabetes, whatever. Then you can click on blank sheet and you'll be able to see all this. Yeah, I may zoom in so that at any time that you'll be entering data, you'll be able to see them clearly. So if you can see that clearly, uh, you can do any emoji if you're able to see the Excel. But again, if you look at Excel, yeah, so I'm seeing quite a number. Bethel, DevOps, yeah, great. Alvin Oyonga, I don't know why you're surprised. If you're not able to see it, you may just confirm if there's a problem. But again, if you open you power your Excel, these are the things that you're able to see. You'll be able to see maybe file somewhere here. There's home, insert, page layout, formulas, there's data. So this is insert. So maybe you want to insert something. All these tools, we are going to use them, including maybe this chat section, which is really important for us today. Page layout, you may define how your page is looking like, including the orientations, the margins that you want to see. Those are things that and even the themes for your data, for your table, I mean, or maybe your view. And then there's formulas that you may also insert. We'll also use quite a number of formulas here, and you'll be able to see what it means. And then there's data. We'll also see what we can do with data. And even today, we are going to learn something about data validation when you're doing data entry, when you're entering data into this Excel. There's review. Also there, we'll see how you can even protect and share your workbook. And we'll learn also what workbooks are. There is also view. So maybe protecting and when sharing a workbook, you may share the workbook to somebody else and then require them to enter a certain code for them to access whatever it is that you wrote. So that is how to maybe protect a sheet. You'll also know how to protect a workbook, and then you'll also learn how to share even your workbook. And there's also view. We can also decide on what are we able to see, right? We can hide some things. We can even remove maybe grid lines, and you see that now we don't have grid lines here, which you can decide to bring back. There's this section called formula bar where we have FX and all that. We can decide that we don't want to see it. So that is what view basically is. You can also zoom even your page. Maybe custom fit, you can zoom it to 200% and click on OK. You see they're a little bit larger, which is something that you can also do with this drag feature down here to the whatever amount you want to do. If you want a new window, you can also click that. You can even freeze panes and you can split and hide. We'll also look at how to freeze. But what I'm saying is that in Excel we have what you call this interface is consisting of ribbons, and then these ribbons have different tabs. So all of this place is a ribbon. So from paste going down up to here, share, it's called a ribbon, which you can sometimes hide using this. You can collapse or hide it. So if I click this, you see that I'm not able to see my ribbon, right? Yeah. And even including the formula bar also you can decide to hide. Yeah. But I can come back and click here and say pin so that it doesn't get hidden. So all of this is called a ribbon. So within the ribbons there are different kinds of tabs. So there is that home tab that we talked about, where you can look at maybe cut, how can you cut something in Excel, and how can you paste also that. There's also an insert tab. Insert tab has various tools. For example, there's pivot table, which is very important for data analysis. We'll be able to see that. We'll also see how you can insert charts, because apart from just seeing data in terms of table, you may want to view them or maybe see it in terms of various charts. We'll also see how to insert even things like slicers, so don't worry about that. There's also a page layout tab. So within that tab, there are different functionalities, right? You want grid lines or you don't want grid lines and all that, right? And the formulas, we'll also see the formulas. So that is the ribbon and containing various tabs, right? Yeah. Anybody with a question? So what you just tackled is called the ribbons, right? Anybody having a question? Yeah. So moving on, maybe that is the ribbons. Then now you look at there's this section now. Let me highlight it using this. Yeah. This is where now you do your data entry, right? And data in Excel is arranged in form of rows and columns, right? So these ones are called the rows, named in number form. This one is a row. So for example, row 1, this is row 2, row 3, row 4, row 5, right? So they are arranged in forms of rows and also in terms of columns. And then the columns are named in alphabetical order, right? So we start with A going to B and C. At the end of it all, we might have just a combination of let me zoom out a little bit. But you'll be able to see that we are going up to Z. So sometimes you may think that because it's named in letters, it ends in Z, right? So the moment it gets to Z, now we start combinations of AA, right? We start AB again. By the time we get to AZ, we start a different one, BA, BB, BC, and things like that, moving on. So Excel is really, it's huge enough to accommodate a large amount of data, right? And again, it can also it can store data up to millions of rows. So in terms of columns and in terms of rows, it's really big enough to accommodate whatever amount of data that you have. So these are the places that you can do your data entry, right? And then there's another thing. If you check down here, we have something called sheet. We have sheet number 1, right? So this is called a worksheet. So when I am in this worksheet, maybe I've entered information such as, let me see the name of somebody. I'm seeing Jonah in this class, and I'm maybe seeing somebody like Aiga, and maybe we have somebody else like Boniface is also part of this class, and Evita. Yeah. So we have this information. So it is obtained in maybe sheet number 1. If I click this, enter a new sheet, that information is not here. So sheet number 1 contains completely different information to sheet number 2, right? So this one is called, when it is individual, so for example, this sheet number 1, it is called a worksheet. But when you have a collection of various worksheets, we call them now a workbook, right? So for example, maybe this one is, I can rename it to maybe something like names, names, or names sheet. And then maybe number 2, I rename it to something like maybe age. Yeah. Yeah. So names, and maybe come here to age and maybe enter some ages here: 23, 45, 56, 67 or something. What I mean is, in Excel, we have worksheets and we have workbooks. So worksheet is just when it is one. So for example, there's the first one here is a names sheet, which is a worksheet now. But then when we have a combination of names and then this age sheet, these two sheets are now called a workbook, right? When there are so many, they become a workbook. Yep. So this is how you can enter data in your. So for those who are asking if or maybe how to rename your sheets, let's try to add maybe another one. You can double tap or double click. Sorry, so I'm using my mouse. That's why I'm talking about double tapping. But you can double click so that it's highlighted, and you can just delete and maybe say data mines. All right. Sometimes you can also maybe right click. So because I want to change this name, you can right click so that you have this rename. You can rename this sheet of yours. You rename it to maybe something like what else? Maybe even occupation. I mean, these are just dummies that are holding for us. You don't have to write maybe occupation sheet, right? You can just do it occupation, so that it contains information about the occupation of people, right? And then sometimes you may want to delete your one of the sheets that you're working with, and maybe this data mines delete, right? You can just right click. Sometimes you may want to select multiple sheets, so maybe this, and then click on shift, and then select that and select this, and then maybe right click and delete. If I delete all of them, this Excel is going to go away. So we may not want to select all of them, but let's select maybe 2, and this one, sorry. And so data mines, click on control and select the 2 and then delete. Will permanently delete. Yeah. So permanently delete, that means that you cannot bring them back, right? You cannot click maybe control Z and bring all of them back. Yeah. Yeah, anybody who is able to do that, thumbs up if you are able to create sheets in your Excel. Thumbs down if you feel lost. Yes, Alvin, Wedanji, Bewelin, Edwin, Evita. Yeah, I mean that is yes, Wema. Yeah, that is basically. Jonah, you're raising your hand. I don't know if it's a question. And also, yeah. So that is how you can create sheets in your Excel, right? So what we talked about is, if it's one this way, that is a worksheet. If it's 2 or 3 or 4, then we call it now a workbook. And you realize that the moment you add, Excel now gives them a different name, or maybe sheet number 4, sheet number 5, right? Because we've been opening sheets and things like that. Juliet, you're saying we repeat on deleting a worksheet? Yeah, well, okay, yeah. So worksheet number 4, worksheet number 6, 5. So if I want to delete number 7, I just right click. So right click on your laptop, and then you'll see this, delete. Or you may want to rename it. right? You may delete or rename. So we can maybe delete that. Sometimes you want to insert and you don't want to use this plus button down here. You just right click and then click on insert, right? So it will ask you what do you want to insert. Maybe I want to insert a worksheet, right? If you select this, it will select chart, right? But I want to insert a worksheet. So I just click on OK. So you can see that sheet number 8 has been inserted. But it's easier to use this. I mean, it's a long process for you to insert, to go to this and insert and click on blah, right? Yeah, and then maybe click that, you'll be having sheet number 9. So if you want to delete them, if you want to delete one, you just right click and delete, right? But if you want to delete multiple, you may click on maybe sheet number 4 and while holding control, there's that control uh, button on the keyboard, you may select the ones that you want to delete, right? I just want to delete maybe. So if I click on sheet number 8 again, it is not going to be selected. So sheet number 4 and sheet number 9, and then you right click and delete, you'll have them that way, right? Yeah, Juliet is now okay. So that one is going to be deleted. Yeah, so that is step number 1. You've been able to create sheets, you've been able to delete them and rename them. And let me check if there's something else that you can do with it. Right click, you may even hide the worksheet, right? So that somebody is not able to see it. You can see that we've one of the sheets that is hidden is sheet number 10. Um, Something else that so for you to even get it back, you can unhide, right? Sometimes you can send data to somebody, but you don't want them to view a certain sheet, right? Maybe it contains financials of your company, maybe it contains some key or maybe sensitive information, right? Maybe it contains records of patients like their age, biodata, right? Medical history. You don't want them to see that, then you can hide that sheet, right? So as they are reviewing other sheets here, they are not able to see it because you've hidden it. So if I unhide, so suppose maybe let me select and suppose maybe I want to hide these two and then click hide. Yeah. So by the time I'm coming back to unhide sheets, it will tell me which one do you want to hide. So for example, I don't want to hide number 13. So I can select 13 so that it is unhidden, right? So that is also peer when how you can play around with privacy and things like that. So let me just unhide all of them. So you unhide, go back to unhide. Okay, and maybe delete all these things, right? We are together. Yeah, so that is just creating sheets and deleting, renaming, hiding, and hiding, and all that. And now you can do something about data entry. Though what I had already entered here is data entry. Um, Suppose maybe we want to enter data for, okay, let's stick with name and maybe something like age. What else? What variable can we also add here? Maybe something like gender, right? What else after this? Any suggestion on variable names that we can have? You can type on the chat box. Yeah, Jonah Ndakwa is saying county. Yeah, maybe where the county that somebody is coming from. Uh-huh. Any other information that we can add? Phone number. Yeah, Bethel Kamau. What if the person decides to unhide? Now there is where we'll talk about there's something else that we just mentioned, and you'll see it. It's called protecting a worksheet, right? Sometimes you can decide that you protect a worksheet by allowing the person who is going to view them to add a certain, or maybe to enter a certain code, right? There can be a certain code that you want them to enter for them to access that sheet. So that is something that we are going to also look at, right? So don't worry. If somebody decides to unhide, that is just one level of protection that you can offer, but ni kama itakuwa ni kama kuweka pesa kwa mshwari. You can always withdraw it at any time. But if you add maybe a password for them to access, it's going to be a better protection as compared to just hiding, or maybe um, hiding a worksheet. You okay, Bethwell? Cool. Yeah. So gender. Yeah, I've seen a couple of suggestions here. Grades, salary and occupation. Yeah, I'm seeing county. So as I am doing this, I hope you are also writing something on your laptop, right? So that is part of hands-on, working hands-on, because we are going to use this data a lot. So kindly do the writing also in your worksheet. So salary, maybe there's also something on occupation, right? I've also seen something like so phone number. Sharon Nyamai is saying phone number. So age. Yeah. Now look at this. So suppose maybe I don't want to insert phone number here. I don't want to insert phone number because it really looks awkward. In most instances, you find phone number coming after maybe name, age, right? Gender, past county. That is a different kind of information for you to have phone number here. Or maybe something like date of birth. You're finding date of birth at the last stages. It's better to find it in the first stages. I don't want to write phone number here, but I want to have it between age and gender. So what am I going to do? Somebody to just unmute. So I've deleted phone number. I want it to be here in between age and gender. So somebody might say that you're going to write it along this line. Uh, Somebody wants to speak. Yeah, Alan Mukwana.
Yeah, you open a new column.
How do I open a new column? By there, I don't know.
I don't know it. You left click. I
Yeah.
right click.
Uh-huh. I right click
And
anywhere.
then
Here.
on the mouse. Around between where you want to insert, either between A and B. So you go to A.
Yes. So suppose my info, I wanted to insert it between age and gender, right? So I right click gender or age.
Age.
So I right click age.
Yeah.
And then insert.
And then you insert. Yeah.
So how do I insert? Which one do I click here?
Shift cell right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that one can work for us, right? Yeah. Or sometimes you can even click like the entire column here. You can just right click at this point and then insert, so that it's inserted in the whole column. Alvin also mentioned something about inserting. Insert a column between age and gender. Yeah, Joel Mooley is saying I click gender. Yeah. So if you click age, if I click a column like this, let me right click and then insert, you see age is pushed, right? So if I want it between age and gender, then I click on the gender one, right? I click on gender because I want it to be between age and gender. So you right click on this and then insert, so that we have maybe phone number now here. phone number is now there, right? If I want something maybe between salary and county, then it means I'm clicking on salary. If I click county, it will be inserted between gender and county, which is not the ideal thing that we wanted here, right? So that is name, age, phone number. Sometimes you can see that phone number is really huge, and it's large enough that it cannot be contained inside the cell size as it is right now. So if you hover around and double click this D here, you can see that the cell size that it has increased, right? And even occupation is also overlapping. If you can see my occupation here, it is overlapping, right? So you can also maybe double click. If you double click, it's now stored within itself. There are those people, maybe you are entering data. Let me show you something. Uh, how are you today? So maybe you are entering data like this. So because this information overlapped, you tend to think that the next cell that I'm supposed to be writing on is E, right? Raise your hand if you think that is what you should be doing. Of course, you're not going to stone you. Yeah, there are those people who sometimes will, because now this information has overlapped up to this point, up to number D, right? How are you today data mines? Yeah. Because it has overlapped up to there, then the next place I'm supposed to start writing is maybe here. I'm doing good. And then you think also that because it has overlapped to F, say hi to Alvas. Say hi to Alvas. Yeah. So this information that is written, how are you today data mines, it is contained in this cell number B. And even if you check on the formula bar up here, you can see that what is highlighted is how are you data mines, because that is the information that is contained in this B. I'll tell you how to call this cell number here. So if you go to cell number C, there's nothing that is contained. Check the formula. There's nothing that is contained there. And also there's nothing contained in D, unless I add maybe something like G. If I add G, then now it's in the formula bar, it is showing us that there's a certain data set. Yeah. So that is that. There are those people talking about wrapping texts. There is also something that can happen. So you can just maybe click here and go to wrap texts so that it appears in. You can see if you wrap your text, you can see how it is appearing right now, right? So everything you can see it inside one cell. Maybe Control Z. Even this one, you can just go to wrap text. This is not about wrapping Kanye West and things like that, but it's just ensuring that your data or maybe your information is appearing um, inside the cell, so that it doesn't overlap to other cells. Okay. Another thing, cells are known by their names, right? So for example, if I say, or maybe are referenced by their row number, sorry, column and row. So for example, if you look at name, it is cell number B3. So name is contained inside cell number B3. B for the column, 3 for the row. Are you able to get that? You can see here. So if I go to cell number B3, I'll find name. If I go to cell number H3, I'll find occupation, right? If I write maybe something here, my maybe my dog, right? Dog is contained in cell number F13, right? Cell number F13. F13 is containing dog, right? If I write something here like maybe 78, so somebody tell me 78. 78 is in which cell reference? Let me point out somebody. 78 that I've written there. Let me call Vince. Vince, cell number 78. You can just unmute and tell us the reference for the 78 that I've written there.
It's in L12.
Yeah, that is in L12, right? So cells or maybe information that are contained in your worksheet can be referenced. So if I have something here, I've written it, I can know that it is maybe in cell number J11 that way. Even if I have something in cell number AAA10, you'll find it somewhere within your, and you can even rename. So for example, this one is 78, right? I can call it maybe my age, right? I can say, let me call that. So this one is saying you must send a valid reference or type. What am I? Let me see if, yeah, this one can be named unless it's when doing the pivot tables. I'll confirm that. But you can rename your cell to something different as compared to just maybe L12 because this is now the cell name, the referencing that you've done. I'll confirm that and then do that and afresh. So that is L12. So in L12 you can find cell number 78. If I talk about maybe about how are you today data mines, that is cell number B8. Why this is important is when you are going to look at something called referencing. So there is absolute referencing, there is mixed referencing, and there is relative referencing that you are going to do. That will need you to also know or maybe understand the cell names, right? Yeah, so let's delete these things and go back to what we are doing. So maybe if I want to delete everything here, I can just highlight them, highlight all that, and then maybe clear contents. If I right click and then say clear contents, right? Clear contents of that cell. Because maybe deleting them maybe once, footer here, you go back to this, footer here, like it will take you time, right? So there is this, you just maybe highlight whatever cells that is contained and then right click and then clear contents. And then everything is clear. There are some functionalities that we have not talked about. You can look at this, which is telling that you undo. You can undo a certain action. So for example, I've deleted those things, but I didn't really want to delete them, right? It was just by a mistake that I have cleared those information. I can click this one, right? You can see I've gone back to where I was. I can even go a step further to, you can just be clicking and clicking and clicking so that you see where maybe you undo the mistake that you did. So there is that is which can be control Z. You can control Z, right? Sorry. You can control Z to undo a certain action that you did. Or for you to, you really didn't want to undo it, but you want to go back to whatever it is that you wrote. There's also control Y. Let me write something here and say, hello. This is not a programming class, but let's write hello world. I mean, these are basics that we have to know before we start doing something. So suppose maybe it's hello world, but I have deleted it, right? If I want to undo it, I don't know why this one is not showing, which is telling me that can't redo. There's what you call redo. Check it in your laptop where you can click on this control Y so that it gets you back to the action that you did. I'm trying to see why mine is not showing up. And maybe let me delete this. Okay, first save. Let me see if I delete this one. There's a problem. Okay, let me first save that. So you can save, maybe save as for the first time. You can save as, right? And maybe browse to where you want to store it. I may want to store it maybe in desktop, or whatever it is that you want to do it. So maybe Bounty Analytica, and store it as data mines. So I'll store it there, and let me see if that will solve what I'm seeing. Yeah, it's not working. But I hope you can see it in your laptop, that you can redo something that you had done. So if I had deleted, for example, I've cleared this content. If I've cleared this clear contents, then this one should pop up, that you can redo something that you've done. Can somebody confirm if they're able to see it in their laptop? There's this one for redoing. Just thumbs up if you can see it, if it is working on your end. Yeah, Wedanji is saying it's working. Yeah, I think I've clicked something that I might need to check. Yeah, Rosalind, Job, Oscar, Edwin, Devox. Yeah, so most of you are seeing it. So it's, maybe you have done some you've deleted something, right, by mistake. So you want to go back to where you are. You are already in town, umefika maybe somewhere like Roysambu, you want to go back to town again. So it's more of like redoing, or maybe control Y, like I made a mistake, gone backwards. Let me go back to the original position, or maybe place that I was in already. So that is control Y. So these shortcuts, you might need to know them. Control Y, Control Z. Control Z you'll be using a lot. I type something here, and then maybe Control Z, it's gone, right? There's also cutting and pasting. There's cutting, there's copying, which we'll also see. So for example, I've written something here. I'll write the names of people who are here. Let me see. I'm seeing Oscar. I'm also seeing somebody like Roslyn. And I'm also seeing Radovan. Radovan. And maybe the last person, a lady. A lady. We're seeing Fahiza. Fahiza is there. Maybe Oscar. Forgive me if I give you an age that is too little for you, or too large for you, or maybe too much for you. But I suppose maybe you are 56 years, and Rosalind is 16, Radovan is 34, Faiza just turned 78 yesterday. And so maybe we are, you can copy this. There's control copy, right? You can first highlight it. You know how to highlight. You just hold on the first one. The first one is Oscar. So we may just want to 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 highlight it, and then maybe click on cut. So that is if you want to remove all that information. You'll see what happens. Let's first start with copying. So if we copy, which has a shortcut like control copy. So if I copy this, and then I can select where I want to paste it. Suppose I want to paste it in J4. J4 is here. Sorry, J4 is here. And then I right click. I can paste it as numbers. I can paste maybe including formulas if I had it, or just control P. Yeah. You can see that this information, we have copied it here and brought it here. Now there is something that is copying. There is cutting. So if I control, or maybe I just click on cut, we first have to understand cutting before going to maybe the shortcuts. I want to maybe paste it somewhere here. Maybe in F10, E10, sorry. So if I right click, you can see what is happening. So, Sharon, can you tell us the difference between coping and cutting, or cutting and coping? You can just unmute.
I think cutting, you remove the information. As coping, you just move. For cutting, you remove the information. For example, if it's the one the first one, hapo kwa name, when you cut, that means that information huwezi rudisha hapo. But coping, it means you move it to another cell, but haitatoka. I don't know if kama makes sense.
Yeah, you're making sense.
Yeah.
Somebody else who has a different explanation to raise their hand. Those who have not spoken, you will speak. Somebody is raising their hand. Just unmute. So Tom-Eric, go ahead.
I think when you cut, you're removing the text from the original position. But when you copy, the text remains there, but it's like you want to rewrite in another position.
Yeah.
Without simply typing.
Yeah. So basically, you are having a duplicate of information, right? Yeah. But when it comes to cutting, you are removing everything, right? So, for example, how can you relate cutting and cutting and copying? Yeah, I was thinking of a certain example which is not going to work. But Control Z. So I've maybe clicked on Control Z to get it back to where we were. So you can just highlight, and instead of going to cut, just click on Control X, right? Control X. If I click on, click on Control X, and then I come here, and then to paste, I just click Control plus V, right? There's Control plus V. Control X for cutting, Control plus V for copying, or maybe pasting it. Sorry, not copying. I'm going to confuse you. Control V for pasting it there, right? So let me go back to Control Z and then say we highlight this and Control copy, that is Control C, and then paste it here, Control plus V. So I have a duplicate of the same information. That is using this. We together? Somebody who is finding challenge doing that, you can just raise your hand. If somebody is finding a challenge with that, yeah, Ventine, if you're okay, thumbs up. Gloria, Joel, Job, Vince, Tom, Roslyn, Bethwell. Okay, yeah, I mean that is the first basic things that we can do. So if you want to clear all that information, you just right click and then clear contents. Yeah, so that is what we have there. So we can go ahead and populate our information. So you can even see, instead of using this one here, cut, you can just highlight and then right click, and then you can cut, you can copy. I mean, there are so many ways you can use this data set. Yeah, Oscar, your hand is up.
I have a question.
Yes.
So what happens in a case whereby we have, say, many columns?
Mm-hmm.
In our case, we have B3, C3, D3 going onward, say it reaches up to, say, Z3.
Mm-hmm.
And the information in the columns don't fit. For instance, in our case, we had B3 and H3.
Mm.
So how do we go about that? Will we be going to each column and doing the trick that we are doing before, or is there a trick we can use to cut off all the columns?
I mean, information not fitting is not a problem. Is not a problem as such. Okay, let's see and work with this. Right click and clear contents. There is a, let me reduce this in size. So this was your question, that we have information. No, not that one. So maybe let's add something like name, age, phone, county, salary, occupation. What else can we add here? We can maybe add level of study. So this one was your question, right? So you have this, you have phone number is not showing, and you have occupation level is not showing, right? Yes, Oscar?
Yes, that's my question.
Or that if it's a problem, or you
Yeah.
may want to show all of them. But there's something that is in page layout, we'll also see it, where you can distribute your I always use it in Word, and let me see if it's here in page layout. I'm a view, but there's a way you can distribute. You can mark them and distribute the sizes. I'll confirm that and see. Formula, grid lines. There should be a page where you can functionality where you can distribute the sizes. Let me check. When I get to it, I'll show you how you can distribute that. But I don't think if it should be really a big problem even when showing your information. But if there are too many, you can mark those cells, and you can mark all of them and then do a distribution. I'm not seeing it here. It's always in Word. In Word, you can distribute the sizes of even the tables so that it shows, all of them shows. Yeah, let's say in page layout or in view, but I'll get it. And so that brings us also again to another thing. Maybe you can first finish populating this information so that we have maybe something to work with. We want to do some sorting and filtering and see what we have by the end of the class. So if maybe phone number, this one can take us time to add. So let's even clear it. Let's have gender and say male, female. There's here called oh, okay, male again, Rosalind. So this is Radovan. Radovan, I believe, should be male. This one should be female. And maybe county is Nairobi. Oscar's Rosalind, maybe from Marsabit. And there's Radovan, maybe from Machakos, and somebody like Fahiza from Mombasa. And salary. So maybe occupation for Oscar. Oscar, which one do we give you? You want to be an engineer? Rosalind, maybe. Okay, doctor. Radovan, data analyst, or maybe statistician. And then we have Fahiza doing something on maybe something like microbiologist. And level of study, we can remove these ones so that it doesn't take time. Salary, salary for an engineer, maybe 40,000. I mean, that is a Kenyan engineer. And there's also doctor, depends on the doctor you are. But let's give you 100,000, then you give this one 45. and maybe microbiologist is going home with 78. I mean that those values are after taxes. So what else? We can copy this information so that we have maybe a certain number. Control V, Control V. So we can have maybe about we have 23 people. So we have Oscar. You can change all these names so that we have different kind of people. But I mean, like, these are dummy data that we are using. Let me also delete this space that we have up here so that they start from apogee. Yeah, so we have name, Oscar, and all this. What else can we want to do? We may want to do a condition of formatting, right? Or we can want to do. Okay, let's start with sorting. Let's first sort this data. So sorting, you can sort data numerically or alphabetically, right? Depending on the data set that you have. So for example, here we have words, right? So if you have words, we can only sort it alphabetically. But if we have numbers, then we can sort it numerically. Numerically means we are sorting either from the highest to the lowest, right? Or we can sorting from lowest to the highest, basically. So similar to this one, we have two numerical columns. So for you to do a sorting, there's this sort and filter. I hope you're able to see sort and filter. Somebody to put up their hands if they can see sort and filter. Not on mine, but on yours. If you're able to see sort and filter on your Excel. Yeah. Because I believe that by the time you're getting done, yeah, Bethel, your hand is up. Is it a question? Raban, also your hand is up. So if it's not a question, okay. Yeah. Yeah, so this is it. So if you want to maybe sort, so for example, you want to sort the name column. So if I highlight from here, even this name is going to be sorted. But this one is the column heading. I don't want it to be sorted. So we can highlight maybe from here. We highlight all this. Or sorry, because we want to sort the names column. And then go to sort and filter. So you want to filter it, sort and filter from A to Z. That means from the lowest to the highest. Or maybe from the first letter to the last letter. From Z to A, it's more or less descending. So sort A to Z. So you'll see here it's telling you that Microsoft Excel found data next to your selection. That means that there are other data, for example, the age, the gender, and all that. So it is asking us that, do we want to expand the selection or maybe continue with the current selection? I mean, even if you click, we'll do both of them so that you see what happens. So there is Fahiza is starting because we started from A to Z. Rose, yeah, Rose, you will get all these recordings and whatever it is that we're conversing. Faiza is there, so Faiza, Oscar, Radovan, and then finishing with Roslyn. So maybe suppose here we have somebody like Hezron, and Rose is also asking something. We can maybe say this one is Jemutai, so that we redo the Raban, your hand is up. Is it a question? Or it was a thumbs up for okay, yeah. So we are also seeing maybe somebody like, maybe let me add here Alvas, and then I'm seeing somebody like Alan Wema. Let's remove this and say Wema. Yeah, so we can redo the sorting. So if I sort here and say A to Z, sort A to Z. So even if I say continue with the current selection sort, you'll see what is happening. So Alvas has started here, Fahiza, Hezron, Jemutai, Oscar, and then Radovan and Wema is finishing. So what happens when you say continue with the current selection? So I want you to try the two scenarios. So I'm giving you 2 minutes to try that. So with the data that you entered, can you do something using, let me first highlight it and show you what is happening. Yeah, if I say this, there's expand the selection and then there's continue with the current selection. Can you try all the two instances and tell me the difference between the two, if there's any difference? Sometimes you are not going to see a difference in your data set or maybe in your 2 minutes. Who is ready to unmute? Or we volunteer you. If you don't volunteer yourself, then you're going to be volunteered. And there are those who have already spoken, they're not going to speak. I want somebody who has not talked. So volunteer yourself if you have not talked. So there are those people who have not talked, and you also don't see a thumbs up or thumbs down from them. So those are the people that you want to work with. Ronald Stanley Indata, you've raised your hand. Go ahead.
Yes, I've done the sorting, but mine is not giving me that pop-up expand or whatever. When I'm just sort, it sorts directly from A to Z or the other way, Z to A. So I don't know. I don't know. Is it what I'm using with Excel I'm using, or is it?
What's your version? But I don't think there's any problem. Sorry?
It's Excel 2013.
2013?
2013, yeah.
Can you try maybe, is somebody experiencing the same issue?
Yes, I'm also experiencing the same issue.
What's your version?
Me too.
Also, me also experience the same.
Yeah, but there should be no problem with it. But what I'm saying is, if you realize that if you do what I was asking you, it more or less stays the same, right? So I was trying to answer your question before you asked it, because there are those people who are going to ask, what is the difference, right? Yeah, so do it yourself so you see if there is any difference. But then some of you have realized. So I also did it here. I think you also saw that there was really not much difference from the two. But again, for those who have versions that are lower than 2016, I'd highly advise that you try to update the versions that you have. Yes, so that is sorting. We can maybe sort these numbers also. Okay. There's somebody commenting that mine is 2013. but I'm seeing the pop-up. Yeah, Tom Eric. Okay. Okay. Yeah, so suppose maybe we had highlighted even the name and then did that sorting. Sort and filter. So if we sort and filter from maybe A to Z, expand. Let me see if name is, okay. You can see that name has not been sorted, right? And let me see Wema and then sort and filter. You can see Z to A. Yeah, so Excel has already understood that this one is the naming or maybe the names column for, or maybe the names row for our columns. That's why it's not being sorted. I look at maybe something like age. We want to sort it from, though it's already sorted. Yeah, it's sorted because of the nature of our, let me give this person 70, not 78 again, 34. 34 is in my mind. Somebody is 14. Somebody is maybe another Rose is 23. There's somebody is 25. There's somebody turning 28 and maybe 30. So I want us to have some different kind of data. 41. Yeah, so that, I think that can make sense. So let's maybe highlight that column and then sort and filter. You can see here now it changes because it has already detected that we have data in, we have numerical data. Yeah, so sort from it's telling us to sort from smallest to largest. It's telling us also maybe to sort from largest to smallest. Yeah, I'm seeing Devek Somolo saying that I like 34 because I'm turning 34. Oh well. Sort smallest to largest. I turned 34 3 years ago. So if you maybe sort from largest to smallest, we have 78, 38, 67, 56, right, up to 14. That is sorting from largest to smallest. If you sort maybe smallest to largest, you can see. So while as you sort this column, the other columns also change, right? The other columns also change. The information that we have in the other columns. You can do also sort again, but now even click on continue with current selection. So we have Rosalind Wema. If we sort, now here is where you want to see the difference. Control Z. So we have 14 here, and then the people we have here is Rosalind Wema, Rosalind, right? Rosalind Radovan. So 67 Radovan. So suppose now we highlight that column and sort from largest to smallest, but then continue with the current selection. So here we have Rosalind Wema, and then there's Radovan in number 67. So if you sort it, what is happening? This column is the only one that is affected. Column number C peke yake is the one that is changing. Information in column B and these other columns, they are maintained. But this information that is in column number C is the only one that is changing. So you may want to be keen with which selection you are picking. Let me redo it so that you see. That's why I was checking for the information that we have here. And then you can see that we have Radovan for 6, 7, 8, and then Jemutai. Jemutai is appearing, Control V. Jemutai is appearing. So we can check if this same information is maintained. So we can just right click this. We can click that and then sort, and then sort largest to smallest. And then continue with the current selection. And then you can see that information has been maintained. Jemutai number 9 still, and I believe that should answer the question on current selection. So current selection means that let's only affect the column that we are working with, right? And that is are you able to notice now the difference? If you're seeing the difference on your side, unless it's working on my end only. If you're seeing a difference, you know what to do. You can type or maybe thumbs up. Yeah, Roslyn, similar. Yeah, so that is sorting. John and Aqua, yeah. So that is sorting. That is something that you are able to do with. So if you click on continue with the current selection, just know that your data is going to be affected, right? And you don't want your data to be affected because right now the way we sorted it, it even changes maybe Rosalind or Saizi Ako 78 that you're working with, which is supposed to be for Fahiza. Okay. Let's look at something else. Yeah, you can also try it and see if it is changing with the other columns. But there's another thing else that is called custom sort. Let's see how custom sort is working. Yeah, so here you can also maybe custom sort. I've highlighted that data. Let me highlight. Yeah, we've highlighted that and that, and then we want to do a custom sorting. So this is a situation where you are sorting the whole data set by a certain column, right? So we want to sort it maybe by age, or maybe I want to sort the whole of this table. We want to sort it by maybe something like salary, right? Values, do you want to sort it by value, cell color, font color, or cell icon? Maybe you want to sort it by values from smallest to largest, largest to smallest, so that it is affecting the whole data set, right? You can even add another level if you want. After sorting it by salary, let us sort it by another column, right? Maybe sort it by county, right? And then from A to Z values, you may want to sort it by values. So custom sorting is where you can do multiple kinds of sorts within your data, right? So instead of sorting it once, where we were sorting, for example, name peke yake ndo tunatumia for sorting, or maybe age column, here we can do multiple kinds of sorting. So we are sorting first by salary. After sorting by salary, then we do a sort by county. Where is this thing going to be important? You can find a situation where you have different people coming from the same county. So for example, we have Roslyn, Wema, Roslyn, what is coming from? All of them are coming from Marsabit County, right? So that is Roslyn, Wema, Roslyn. All of them are coming from Marsabit County. Let's give them maybe a different kind of salary. Maybe this one is Roslyn is earning 780. Let's call this person maybe even John. John, and then maybe call Radovan. Radovan is from Marsabit? No. Yeah, so Roslyn, let's call this person maybe Job. I'm seeing Job here. So we have four different people coming from the same county, and then give them a value of 50,000, and then Job is earning 100,000. Wema Women Power must be earning higher than Job, 120,000. So these people are coming from the same county. So when we do a sort by, maybe let's first sort by county, right? If we do a sort by county, you will find that, of course, they are coming from the same county. Then after doing a sort by county, let us sort them by salary again, so that those people who are coming from the same county, we also look at who is earning the highest amount of salary, or who is earning the lowest amount of salary within those people who are coming from the same county. That is how you can do more or less a multiple kind of sort. First, sort by the county that people are coming from. Then those who are coming from the same county, depending on maybe which sort you have used first, but let's look at those people who are coming from the same county. Let us again sort them in terms of their salary. That is what you want to do. So let's first do maybe a sort like this. Sort A to Z. Maybe let's sort A to Z. So we'll see that we have, for Masabit, we have 5 people. There's another Roslyn here. We can change it to 2. Eric, nimeona Tom Eric is in the class, right? So I'll show you where custom sort is important. So these 3 people are coming from the same county. So Rosalind, Wema, John, Job. So we have sorted them already by county. Then after sorting by county, we go and sort by salary. But if we click here and sort by salary, if we sort again from by salary, you'll see that we have been affected. There must have been people that are down here. There's somebody else who is up here, and things like that, and it changes the whole thing again. So let's work with that custom sorting. So highlight all of your data and then go to sort and maybe custom sort. Let's try and see if it is working. So let us first sort by county, and then start maybe from Z to A or A to Z. Then there's this place add level, and then now we want to sort it by salary, and then we sort, of course, by values, and then sort from maybe smallest to largest, right? Or even largest to smallest. Now here is where if I have another level of sorting that we may want to do, we just click add level again. Let's see if it is working, or there is an error. Yeah. Now you can see people have been grouped in terms of the counties that they are coming from. So we've sorted them. We found they are coming from Marsabit. And then we look again in Marsabit, we have again arranged their salaries from smallest to largest. So smallest being 780, and then the other one being 120. Then we go to maybe people from Machakos County. Of course, this data, we messed around with it. That's why we are only having 45,000. We cannot see. That's why I was keen on ensuring that Marsabit, we have different kinds of values. You are able to see that. If you are understanding, thumbs up. If not, thumbs down, so that we move together. Laura Wanjala, you are crying a river. Can you tell us what the problem is? Laura, you can unmute. Oh, Laura has left again. Yeah, I think we are together in terms of sorting. Yeah, Laura, okay. So that is where custom sort is really important for you to work with. So you can even have 5 sets or 6 sets of just custom sorting. So I've sorted first with this, add another level, maybe. So, and then you may want to delete level. Let's see, delete level, right? So maybe add level, add another level, until maybe you can even have 10 or 12 custom sortings for you to do, right? And maybe now you delete this level, delete level, delete. And then you can see that it has checked that my data has headers, right? If you uncheck this, then even name is going to be sorted. So that is okay. So I think that one we are done with that sorting. So you can see it there. So Control Z, or no, we can do something called so that is sorting and filtering. No, we have not filtered. So let's also filter information. So maybe Java here. Okay, there's Radovan. So we may highlight the data that we have and then now do what we call filtering. You may filter information that you want to see. You may filter information that you do not want to see. So there's filter here. So if I click on filter, there are these pop-ups. So sometimes I don't want to see information about, or maybe information. So first you are able to scroll down and see that we have different kind of information: Tom, Eric, Roslyn, Radovan, Oscar, Jemutai. Maybe I don't want to see information Radovan, or I also don't want to see information Jemutai. There are too many men in this selection of ours. So let's reduce the level. Job can go away. We can also remove Tom, Eric. Gender balance. So Wema, Roslyn, Oscar, Jemutai, Javan. There are still too many men. Yeah. So that competition also doesn't become too high. But I mean, we can remove those men and remain with the balance 2 to 3. So I don't want to see the information of those people, so I just go to filter and then click on OK. And then you realize that I have Javan, Roslyn, John, Wema, Jemutai, Oscar. Oscar's information is also here, and then Hezron. But then if you look at the numbers here, you can see we are coming from number 1, then number 3. That means that there is a certain information that has been skipped here, which is number 2. From number 3, we are going to 7. Yeah. So we have done filtering for us to hide some information that we don't want to see. Suppose maybe even here, let's do maybe a Control Z and highlight again. Sorry, not highlighting. We had already done the filtering. Now we come maybe to salary. We don't want to see people who have the 45,000s, right? And there are other people here. Maybe you don't want to see 120,000 because it is affecting your data, right? You know, in a certain data set, you can have people who are having way too much money, or maybe their salary is way too high, so that it is affecting maybe even your analysis. So you may want to remove the outliers. So for example, if you look at this data, can you tell me any outlier that you are seeing? So we have this salary information. Are you seeing any outlier? Somebody to say any outlier they are seeing. So we have all that information up to. So are you able to see any outlier? Any outlier? Uh-huh, 780. So Rosalind, 780. Yeah, so Rosalind is really an outlier. For those who don't know what outlier is, it's a kind of data, and we'll talk about it when doing data cleaning. We'll also clean data, but outlier is too low value or maybe too high value, so that it is affecting either your analysis, right? It is impacting your analysis in this way. It can sometimes try to pull people towards itself, right? And giving a wrong impression. It's more or less like you have in a village you have 10 millionaires, right? And 100,000 what does people who have whose worth is 100 called? Is it 100 nears? Yeah. So think of it this way, where like in a village you're having 10 millionaires and 100 people whose worth is maybe 1,000, right? So that John Musili is saying R people. So that you have 10 million people, 10 million people, like, I mean, in terms of their worth, 10 million, they're worth 10 million US dollars, or maybe Kenyan shillings. And then you have people who have like just 1,000, yeah, as the only thing they are having between them and poverty. So if you look at it, you find the average, you'll tend to see that maybe because 100 times maybe 1,000, that should be what? 100,000, right? So that is 100,000, and then you add 10 times 10 million, right? Which is basically 100 million. So 100 million, if you add the other 100,000, what value comes into mind? I think that should be somewhere around. Let me see. You'll understand why outliers is really bad. So if I divide it by 110, so if I get the average, my average is coming to 910,000. So in that village, you can conclude and say that everybody in this village has an average of 910,000. But is it true, right? It is not true, basically, because there are people who are actually living on the brinks of life, while the others are really having huge amounts of money and things like that. So it is painting a different kind of picture. In a village where there is one extreme millionaire, and then there are those people who are walala hoi, if you get the average, it can really depict a different kind of value. That's why you may want to remove the outliers. So if you go to maybe salary, we may want to remove this outlier because it is going to paint a different picture. They tend to pull information towards themselves. Because if you find this average, you may find it to be maybe something around 30,000. But the rest of the other people, the other people are earning more than that 30,000. But it is because 780 pulled our data backwards. That is what used to happen even in high school. If so many people are failing, and then there are 3 people who are finding maybe getting 90s and 80s. When you do the mean, you tend to think that everybody in the class are dumb, right? Or they are bums, but that cannot be true. So if you click on OK, information about Roslyn at number 7 has been removed. Not really deleted, but has been hidden, so that we are seeing a different kind of data. There's a question that was typed here that pardon hapo kwa kuselect those you want to filter. Alan Muhwana, I think you've now seen how to select those people to filter, right? Those are basically repeated. So that is sorting and filtering, right? Yeah. So Control Z. So when you are done with your filtering, you can go and click this so that you don't apply filter. Yeah. You click on that filter so that those check boxes are gone. Okay. Or you can even filter with county so that you see only information of those people coming from Machakos County. And that will be that. Something else. Let's do the last thing, almost the last thing, that is conditional formatting. So that tomorrow we are also going to look at something different. Let us look at conditional formatting, unless there's somebody who has a question around sorting and filtering. If not, let's look at conditional formatting. And with conditional formatting, I want to change these values to even 1000, 2345, 997, 456, 43, 456. Anything that is still looking the same? Okay. 9876. I mean, these are just dummy data, so don't be worried about. I have to make them exact the way I'm doing it. That one is not advisable today. Okay, I like 456 7890. Yeah. So let's do maybe conditional formatting. So conditional formatting is where maybe you are giving a different color. Yeah. You are formatting your data based on some colors or maybe based on some patterns and things like that, right? And even before that, you can color this. You can make you can fill the cells with some different colors. So maybe you want this green color for the name, or you can just highlight all of them up to here and then give it maybe a certain color. Maybe this makes sense for that. So so that we know that is the names column. So suppose we want to do a condition of formatting on our data. So we may highlight maybe, let me say, salary column, and then go to condition of formatting. There's condition of formatting here. I hope that you are able to see condition of formatting. So condition of formatting, and then there is highlight cell rules, top stroke bottom rules, data bars, color scale, icon sets. Here also you can create new rule. You can also create your rules, clear the rules, sorry. So maybe first start by highlight cell rules. Okay. So click on highlight cell rules and then greater than, maybe less than. Okay, let's first start with greater than. So if you check here, of course Excel has done maybe selected one, but you can clear that and add your selection. I want to see data sets that are or maybe numbers or maybe information or people that has salary that is greater than maybe 45,000, greater than 45,000, and then you give it a certain color, the color that you like. Green fill. Okay. Control Z. So let us highlight it. So if you click this, it's also going to color salary. So instead we can highlight it from here and then go to conditional formatting, highlight cell rules, greater than maybe we wanted 45,000. So if you are greater than 45,000, you should be highlighted with maybe light red fill with dark text. So what is the importance of conditional formatting before even going into it? Somebody to just unmute and tell us what is the importance of conditional formatting. Let me call on somebody. Alice. I believe she'll be Alice K or Kalunde. Alice, unmute and tell us the importance of conditional formatting.
So for me, I feel like it helps to be able to distinguish or give focus to the data you actually want, so that when you're doing the sorting, it becomes easier.
Somebody else who may want to add some juice into it. It is lady's question. Let me look for a lady. And there's somebody called Faith.
Yes.
Yeah, what is the
Yes.
importance of conditional formatting?
I think to second her opinion, it's just to put emphasis on maybe to highlight the key important info to pay attention to,
Yes.
or
Yeah.
something like to be able to identify, like, yeah, to distinguish between different data info, maybe.
Yeah, that is exactly. So that like you're paying attention to some of the important information that you want to see. So for example, in this case, what we wanted to see is those who have, or maybe those whose salary is above 45,000, right? And that is the only highlight that we are looking at. So and then now you can maybe find their information, like their names and things like that, right? Another thing is maybe, so that is maybe greater than. In the same sense, you can do something for maybe less than 780, or less than 45,000, or less than 20,000. So the way you may want to do it. So let's go back to conditional formatting and maybe highlight cell rules and even between, or is equal to, right? You can even say between. I want to see those who are between 100 and maybe those outliers that we are talking about, and those who are having less than 10,000. So light red, maybe right now we fill it with some Machakos colors. And then you can see those people who have less than 10,000, greater than 100. So it is falling between 100 and 10,000. And you can see Radovan, Javan, and another kind of Radovan is also there. Hezron is also there. So that is maybe on the numbers. If you want to maybe conditionally format even the names, maybe a text that contains. I want to see a text containing maybe Radovan. I want to see maybe a text containing Oscar, containing maybe Fahiza. Yeah. Let's see if we find maybe a text. If you say a text containing A, then you can see there's those Radovans and the Javans and the Faiza, the Oscar. There's nobody containing AB, even BA. Yeah. ZA, Faiza only. I mean, that is conditional formatting. There's also another one. Let's look at it in terms of even age, conditional format, and do something called data bus. So let's we pick any solid fill. Okay. So maybe let's look at that. So who can tell me something about data bar? This one is men. Now look at what the data bus that we are having, and tell us something about data bus. Like, what is it doing? The man that is going to answer this is called Raban. If somebody tells you to describe what the data bar has done here, what are you going to say?
Okay, according to me, I think the data bar, how the greater, how the value according to the value of the number. So if the data is greater, so the data bar also increases by size. Yeah.
Yeah. Another man to add juice again. Joel. Should be Joel Musili, I believe.
I believe it is to graph the values in a bar graph.
Uh-huh. Yeah. But again, if you look at this data bar, it is referencing the highest value that we have. So for example, we have 78 as the maximum, right? Before I answer that, there's somebody else typing. Kiprop Martin is saying gives proper visualization. Amos Sumbi was saying it helps in data classification under certain specification. Yeah, that is what conditional formatting enables. Alan Muhwana makes work easier. Yeah, okay. So if you look at 78 being our highest value, it has a full bar. Then all the other bars are going to be either full or not full in respect to 78, right? So as we go a little bit lower, the bar is not full. So for example, from 78 to 67, you can see it's not full. Unless maybe we change it to, let's see if we change it to 77. If it is going to, yeah, you can see, let me add it so that we drag this here. To some extent, you can see 77 is really not that full, right? You can see 77 here and 78, they're different. Unless you, if you add now, it becomes maybe 87. Now 87 becomes the reference because it is the highest value that we are having. So it can just help you to view quickly what is the highest value. Instead of maybe using something like sorting, data bar can enable you to clearly see, or maybe in a quick glance, see the information that you're having. So if I have it as 1007, you see now what outlier is doing. Cool. Let's get it to 87 still. Yeah, so that is what is happening there. Another thing that you can do, so that is conditional formatting. I believe that you can maneuver around because I want us to do the last thing that is called the data validation. Let me just do one last, no, mail is not going to bring us something. So maybe name. Name, we had already worked around with that. It's more easier to work around with yeah, so similar to maybe data bus and color scales, right? Well, let us look at something like yeah. So what happens? The more red you are, the more in trouble you are, right? So the more red an information or maybe a cell is, the more in trouble. In trouble maybe pesa kidogo inaisha and things like that. But the more white, or maybe as maybe the shade of the red is going a little bit down, right? You are in the safe space. So for example, 120 and 100,000, you can see that it's a little bit they're in a safe space as compared to those ones which has the reds, more reds, I mean. So like 997, 556, and 678 are considered to be in that region that is not safe. Let me declare it not safe. So Control Z, you can even do it with a different kind of color, right? So that is color scales. Similar to database, you can also use even icon sets. Yeah, go and play around with that. So here you can maybe give a different kind of value, white, green color scale. So that is white, green. There's this green, yellow color scale. You can add more rules. What color scale do you want to be shown for the lowest value? So maybe lowest value color, you want it to be maybe black. As you move forward, which color do you want to be shown there? Maybe that, right? As we move towards the highest value. So these are things that you can declare for yourself. maybe acha tuseme hapa ni huko chini ni UDA, as you go to highest value Azimio, or maybe lowest value Azimio as you go to highest value UDA and things like that. I mean, that is color scaling. Anybody having a question around that before we go to data validation? Anybody having a question? Okay. So go and play around with these things, by the way. Conditional formatting. I mean, you've seen it in action. So there's conditional formatting. Aha, there's something that you have not done. You may want to format information that you have inside here. So for example, if somebody looks at this information, he can't really know whether it is in currency form or maybe some sort of a salary, right? Because these are just numbers. You may want to highlight them and then maybe format. So you may format it to currency, accounting, right? Let's format it to maybe currency. And I also want to format it into date, and then you see what is happening, the magic. So currency, here it automatically it's saying that it's in US dollars, but you may change it to a certain so we don't want it maybe in US dollars. Sorry, there's a problem with this Excel. So it's loading. But if you click that, I believe that if you click that dollar sign, you're able to see, and then click on the accounting period that you've seen, you're able to format it into either Kenyan shillings, Ugandan shillings, Rwandan, or any amount, any currency. Yeah, there's an issue that is happening here. I don't know why. Can you check if you're able to change it into any other currency? So for example, here is US dollars, and then maybe you are looking for Rwandan francs for those who are coming from Rwanda. You may want to maybe even give it. We have Kenyan shillings. We should be having that. So we even have this, right? Then say okay. So this one is telling us that Radovan is earning Kenya shillings 23.45. If you're able to do that, thumbs up again. Somebody might be lost. Thumbs down if you're not understanding what you're doing. Kindly, or type in the chat box so that we help you out. Janice, are we together? Beverly, Janice?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes, we're together.
Okay. Yeah, so that is how you can format that. Instead of having them, and you can see that we have up to 40, up to 2 decimal places. So you may want to reduce or increase the number of decimal places. So if you click on this one, you are adding decimal places. But if you click this, you're reducing the decimal places. We may retain it to the 2 that we had. Right? Yeah. Something else, we may change even these things from. Let me see if it is going to work. Yeah, if we change it into percentage, you can see we had maybe 200%, 22%. Yeah, it has just multiplied 20 times 100 to get us 200%. Control Z get us back to where we are. So even this, if you click number, there are so many things that you can do. Change a number from accounting, change it to general, change it to currency, text, date, cancel. So suppose maybe we change this one to date. Let's change it first to general. Let's change it first to general. Let's leave it this way. Then let's change it to date. We can change it to long date or maybe short date. Okay, let's change it to short date. Why is it showing us this way? Are you seeing what is happening? That we have 1906, there are others 1902, there are others 2173, then there is 1921. If you write number 1 and then turn it into date, let's turn it into date or even long date. So Excel recognizes dates up to maybe 1900, right? I mean numbers. In terms of numbers, number 1 is, you can write dates in terms of numbers. So if I write number 1, then it is 1900 January 1st, right? 1900 January 1st. Then it means number 2 is Monday, January 2nd, 1900. So if I have maybe 40,000, if I write 40,000 and then change the format into maybe long date, Monday, July 2009, 40,000. So that means that July 2009 was 39,999 days after January 1st of 1900. So if I have maybe 50,000, if I have 50,000, no, 50,000 is too small. Let's have 70,000 and format it into number, into date, long date. So that one will be 2091, right? Okay. So that's that, and you can play around and find which day we are today after so today's date maybe 29th, right? 01 sorry 01/29. Then you can convert this into general, and you can see that it is 45,320 days after 45,320 days after January 1st. So you can format it back to even short date. In terms of short date, it is going to appear that way. In terms of so there's long date. Okay, if you add it time, maybe 1200 whatever, and then that's it. Something else that we can do should be data validation. We are at 8:24. Yeah, we need to clear that before we call it a day. Data validation. Somebody can just unmute and say what you mean by data validation. What comes into your mind? Maybe you've never heard of data validation, but what comes into your mind when you hear data validation? Let me call somebody who has not talked again. Yeah, today somebody must. Yeah, Kiprop Martin, you're asking a question. You're saying question, right? You want to ask a question? Yeah, you can unmute and ask. We get the response from the group. And if you're speaking, you are on mute. You have written above. Okay. Oh, sorry. I don't understand how the dates are arrived at from a single figure. I mean, that is how Excel was made. You can actually write dates in terms of numbers, right? Dates can be presented as numbers, yeah. And if you have maybe the number one, you can format it as number one number one represents a certain date, and that date is 1900 January 1st, right? That is where like Excel starts to, to recognize numbers in relation to dates. So if you write any number in Excel, you can format it into dates. So that is like an inbuilt function that was already placed in Excel, basically, right? Yeah. Bevel and Achieng is saying data validation is ensuring data is accurate and correct. Winnie Ambogo, checking data integrity and accuracy before consumption by the business or organization. Yeah. Which one should we go with? All those answers are correct. So data validation, again, when it comes to even Excel, is for you to just ensure that if somebody is entering data into your into the Excel workbook or maybe Excel worksheet, they are entering the correct information. Sometimes you want people to enter their age as between maybe 30 and 40. You want only to work with people who are between 30 and 40. And then somebody who's 60 enters information, but you really don't want their information. You are looking at maybe the average number of youths who are using TikTok, and you realize that maybe those people who are aged 70s going onward might not really frequent TikTok, or they don't. Yeah, I mean, most of them might not really be in TikTok, or maybe the 80s, the people in the 80s, or even if they're using it, it's once in a blue moon, right? But most of the consumption, you'll find it between those who are aged 14, or maybe 14 kuendelea up to around 30. Yeah. So that is the age group that you want to work with, or you want to work with adolescents, and somebody who is not yet adolescent tries to sign up or maybe enters information into that data set, and you don't want them to appear. That is where now you want to validate, or you want people who are earning above 100,000. Eagles don't fly with the whatever. So somebody earning between less than 1,000, you don't want them there. Yeah. So that is where the data validation the data validation comes in. Sorry. So let's get this back to currency. Yeah. Or maybe, so this is the last thing, I swear. So currency, and then click on this. Then we go to my accounting. The only problem with this thing is that you cannot search. So you have to drag and drop. Because you wanted the Kenyan shillings one. So maybe this. So what did you want to do? Maybe validation. So we want to validate this. Let me say maybe we validate it up to this point, because I don't want us to delete that information that you already entered there. Go to your data and go to this thing called data validation. You can see here also there is filter, which we had sometimes worked with in the past. So data validation, and then maybe you click there, and then maybe show any value, or maybe you want whole numbers, or you want people to be entering decimals, but we want people to enter all numbers when it comes to their age. So if you are almost 20, you don't write for us 19.6. So we want the minimum value that somebody is going to enter to be, sorry, there's something that has happened with my, yeah, we want the minimum value to be, let me say 18, right? And then we want the maximum value to be 60. So if maybe somebody tries to enter a different kind of data, we can give them an error message, or it's either stop. So let's call it maybe a warning, and write it wrong information. Kindly ensure that the value that you are entering is between 18 and 60. So the title will be wrong information, the error message that is going to be returned. Now, we said 18 and 60. So suppose now, because our validation is going up to number 29, suppose maybe I enter, I am 61 and click on enter. So you see like it's telling us wrong information. Kindly ensure that the value you are entering is between 18 and 60 years. That is just to tell somebody to confirm. The only problem is that if somebody clicks yes, that information is going to be maintained there. That is the only issue. But if I click no, continue no, then it tells them to edit it, right? So that is part of data validation. So that if you are sending maybe this worksheet to somebody, let them maybe enter a certain number, a certain information. So if they enter maybe 61, if they enter maybe 10 or maybe 17, then it means that they are going out of range of the values that you as the data analyst, or maybe you as the person doing the data entry, you don't want that information that they are entering. So that is why you can now maybe include something like data validation. When it comes to even something like, sorry, so it's telling me that you cannot continue and until I resolve this error. Now let me enter and say yes. That is the only problem with it, is that, but at least somebody gets a warning that they are entering the wrong information. So suppose maybe you enter at a 17 because you entered 18 to 60, right? It is not going to be possible. So if I enter 18, mambo ni sambamba. Let's look at even validating this one and see data validation, and then settings, any value, yes, of course, any value, or list. We can say list. Source, we can type here male, female, and then so let's check what happens with stop. Kindly, so what is the error message? Let's use wrong information again. Invalid entry. Invalid entry. You have entered the wrong information. Click on OK. Let's see if somebody is told to stop. How about if we add prefer not to say? It tells you you have entered wrong information. So stop. So you cannot proceed, right? There's nothing that you're going to be doing. As compared to the other one which we had, like proceed, yes or no. But in this case, we are telling them to stop. So you just have to cancel and go back and edit your data. That is custom data validation. Let's see even Machakos and do another thing, data validation here. And maybe there's stop, there's warning, there's information. So we've basically worked with all of them. We started with that one with warning, we went to stop, now maybe information. When user enters invalid data, show this error alert. we have not checked settings. First we go to list and say maybe we want them to be only coming from Machakos, Nairobi, and Mombasa, and then say error alert. What is the error alert that is shown? You can maybe even tell hey. Whatever you are doing, it will not bear fruits. I mean, this one can be hash. Okay. Let me say it will bear unripe fruits. Okay. So let's say somebody has maybe put in information like coming from which county? Kitale. Is Kitale County? Sorry. Trans Nzoia. Whatever you're doing, it will bear unripe fruits, my friend. So it's telling you, okay. I mean, but that is just information. So you can tell them maybe you are supposed to enter data that is, it's either you are coming from Nairobi, Machakos, or Mombasa. So that is information. So which one do you prefer to use? We are done. Which one do you prefer to use? Do you prefer stop, warning, or information? Yes. Which one do you prefer? Stop. Turmeric is saying stop. Kiprop, warning. Warning. Yeah, I'd say stop is better because for warning, somebody is going to continue. I mean, we had seen how warning is working. That is custom, but you can see maybe this one. Let's try this and tell them warning and instead of stop. So warning. Hey chief, you've entered the wrong data. Sorry. There's something that you've not done. Value should be whole number. Is it whole number? Okay, whole number. Yeah. Okay. You must enter both. Okay. 2390 to 7890. So, and then somebody comes with 5.78. So you have entered the wrong data. Hey chief, you have entered the wrong data. Continue? Yes. You see it's continuing. But when it comes to one stop, it's somebody's on your neck. There's nowhere you're going. So let's try and see here and then stop. And then say okay. And then say 456.89. You see, you have entered wrong data. Retry, cancel, help. So if you retry and click enter, you're not going anywhere, right? So I mean that is that one is custom data validation, right?